The Boston Celtics winning streak is no more. The Celtics fall to the Charlotte Hornets on the road here. That and more coming up next here on Green with Envy. What up, what up, what up? It's your boy Will Weir checking in. How you doing? How you living? The Celtics win streak is snapped on the road in Charlotte. And here to help me break it all down is my best friend, co-host, and the coach of our podcast, the one and only Greg Manakis. Rough one out there tonight, man. No two ways around this one.
Yeah, I mean, Jason Tatum went crazy, went bananas in the first half. So did Peyton Pritchard. And, we'll get into it, but I think the biggest takeaway is whenever we have somebody who gets it going, really bogs down the rest of the team. It seemed like we were just expecting Jason Tatum's performance just to kind of blow the doors off the arena and the Hornets would fold. The Hornets weren't folding tonight.
Yeah.
And I think that's just it was kind of fool's gold in the first half. We hoped it would be over at the end of the first half.
A lot of
48-minute game.
A lot of complacency in that second half, I would say.
Yeah, it's a good word.
So let's go ahead. Let's jump into the morning box score because that's going to allow us to kind of venture out into everything. So let's do what we always do here, and let's go ahead and cue up the morning box score. The Boston Celtics lose tonight, as I mentioned, 121 to 118 in overtime against the Charlotte Hornets. Let's start out with the Hornets, and we got to go to the first guy here on the list, and that's LaMelo Ball. 15 of 27 from the field, 5 of 11 from 3, 9 rebounds, 8 assists, 2 steals, 36 points. A really impressive performance from him. A guy that I thought was maybe the second most impactful player on the Hornets tonight. Mark Williams. Big fan of Mark Williams coming out of Duke last year, second year in the league, 8 of 14 from the field. He had 18 points to go along with 16 rebounds, including 8 offensive rebounds. Miles Bridges had 14 points, 20 points for old friend Gordon Hayward, 15 points for PJ Washington off the bench as well. Swinging over to the Celtics, Greg, you already touched on it. Big night from Jason Tatum, especially in that first half. He finishes the night with 45 points, 13 rebounds, 6 assists, 15 of 28 from the field, 7 of 15 from 3, 8 of 10 from the line. Really needed that to be 9 of 10 from the line. Misses a crucial free throw in the overtime period. Peyton Pritchard getting his groove back. 8 of 14 from the field, 5 of 8 from the three-point line. He had 21 points tonight to go with 6 rebounds. Really, him and Tatum had it going on offensively. The rest of the team, it was a struggle. Sam Hauser, 1 of 9 from the field, 1 of 9 from 3 on the night. Kristaps Porzingis, only 5 of 14, 1 of 8 from 3. He missed 4 free throws in this game. Jaylen Brown, 5 of 17. Drew Holiday, 5 of 11. A tough night for the Celtics overall. They lose the offensive rebound battle. They lose a bunch of points in transition to this Hornets team that just never gave up. Greg, when you look at this game, like I said, there's no way. This is a bad loss. They were up 100 to 89 with, I believe, just over 2 minutes left. You can't lose that game versus, as much as the Hornets didn't give up tonight, they're an inferior team. Even with Derek White now, it's an inferior team. You can't lose a game when you're up by that much. Drew Holiday misses 2 free throws late in regulation, sends the game to overtime. I mentioned Jason Tatum, 8 of 10 from the free throw line. Wish it was 9. Attempted a 3 late in overtime, gets fouled by Gordon Hayward, only makes 2 out of 3. When you look to where the Celtics lost this game, where's the first place that you're looking at?
I think it would have to be the Drew Holiday free throws, man. And Drew Holiday overall, I think his play was very erratic tonight. That was one thing that I've been noticing a lot since we started the season is that Drew Holiday's consistency has been, a breath of fresh air after the roller coaster of Marcus Smart over the last few years. And, I think with Holiday, we finally saw what some Milwaukee Bucks fans have mentioned over the past couple of years that, I probably wouldn't phrase it this way, but I've seen it on Twitter, like the Drew has CTE thing. I think probably not the most politically correct way to phrase it, but he has a lot of plays where you're kind of just like, wait, Drew, like, why did you do that? Like that one play where he had the wide open layup and Drew Carter said, oh, it looked like his controller died on him. I think with Drew, I'd have hoped with Derek White being out, Al Horford being out tonight, that we would have gotten a little bit more out of him. Those 2 missed free throws, obviously, kind of put an
Those are gonna
exclamation
be the
point on the
headline, not
bad
not the main
performance.
thing, but those will be the headline for sure.
Right, right. And just, even the last pass to Jaylen Brown, it's a tough position to be in, point 0.8 seconds on the clock, but that was just a bad decision trying to throw it over the top to Jaylen. The pass wasn't there. There were just other options that he probably could have gone to. But Drew, I would say, he was probably the worst of the stars in
Mhm.
tonight's game.
Right.
Jaylen wasn't far behind him, though. Jaylen with the 5 fouls we didn't see a lot out of Jaylen Brown tonight. It was basically, let's hope Jason Tatum can take us home. Second night of a back-to-back. Let's just hope Tatum can put his Superman cape on. Like he said, he loves playing Monday nights in Charlotte.
Hey,
And
I
he
mean, he
almost
came damn close. He
he
came
did.
damn
He
close
did.
to doing it. It was, I mean, basically, if your name's not Jason or Peyton, it's really hard to look at this from a super positive lens, right? Like, and even in the Tatum part, it's really hard for a guy who has 45, 13, and 6. It's in 2 blocks to add to that. It's hard to even, it feels stupid to come up with something negative to say about that night, but we kind of mentioned it, right? Like, and this is part him, part the team, right? Is that in that second half, it just felt like you said, Tatum's got his Superman cape on tonight. Let's just let him take us home. We're just gonna settle for a lot of shots. And really the offense just it got lazy really in that second half.
Right, and it's funny because you would have expected with Tatum playing as well as he was playing that we would have went to Jason Tatum down the stretch a little bit more
Oh
than
my
we
God.
did.
That's I mean, the fact that we went with, and this was I think the second to last possession in regulation, but we were texting in our group, and we went with a Hauser Holiday pick and roll where we left Porzingis in the corner and Tatum on the wing. And it's like, I don't know, just a wild, wild thought here. Maybe give the guy with 40 points the ball. And I think this ended up being Holiday missing the free throws after this, but
Right.
how do you not even have him involved in the action? Like that's
Right.
inexcusable.
And that's also somewhat on Tatum, right? Holiday has the ball at the top of the
Mhm.
key with 12 seconds left, and Tatum just stands in the corner. It's like, go get the ball, dude. You're
And this is
feeling
what
it.
I'm saying. It's hard to have criticisms of a guy who's 45, 13, and 6, but
Yeah.
it did feel like there was times where either he settled or in this particular case, he actually wasn't aggressive enough, regardless of whatever the play call might have been.
Right. And it's one of those games where with Jalen, I love Jalen, but there were times in tonight's game where Tatum
Getting
was
chirped
going
at
off.
a little bit here on Twitter with some of our staunch Jalen love is I know some people are not thrilled with Jalen tonight.
Yeah, I mean, there were a few times Tatum really had it going. I think one time in the first half, and Jalen was really struggling all night. He brings the ball. Tatum had just hit another 3-pointer. Jalen brings the ball up the left side of the court and decides to go 1-on-1. And I think he missed a 3-pointer or turned the ball over or something. But I was just
Mhm.
like Jalen, why do you feel the need at this moment to insert yourself? Like, just give the ball to Tatum and get the hell out of the way.
Yeah.
You didn't need to do that. And down the stretch, we went 3 straight possessions, Tatum and Porzingis pick and roll. I know that has been, a really effective play throughout this year, but when Jason Tatum has it going like this and the rest of the offense is already kind of bogged down, there's not much movement. The ball's not moving side to side. It's really just one action and we're getting a shot and an offensive rebound, maybe. That's when I'm just like, I would rather have the ball in Tatum's hand because Jalen
Mhm.
doesn't have any sort of rhythm. He's had 5 fouls, been forcing it all night. Let's just
Yep.
give the ball to Tatum. Why are we overcomplicating this? Give the ball to Tatum down the stretch and let him do his thing.
I want to highlight this comment that we got here on YouTube from BR Reardon, 'cause I think this is something I kind of noticed during the game and have noticed over the last spell or so in which Jalen's kind of struggled to find his spot. And so for those of you listening here, another rough performance from Jalen, really hoping he starts to gel with not always being the second option, because right now it seems like he doesn't know and trust his role. And I think that's actually pretty well said for kind of where Jalen's at right now. And I'm trying to remember if this was, I know it was in the second half, but there was a play where I think it might have been Holiday underneath the basket, ends up, and it was actually one of the few possessions where the Celtics got some side to side movement, got some penetration, kicked the ball out to Jalen on the wing, and it should have been an immediate shot for Jalen. But Jalen
Mm.
hesitated for a moment, wasn't really quite sure what to do, ended up settling back in, and then took a forced contested 3-point shot. And I think that really speaks to the comment right there about being a little tentative as to knowing and trusting his role. Whereas before, obviously before you add in Chris Stapps, before you add in, Drew Holiday, and even Derek White's role has really ascended, even though he was on this team, a year
Mhm.
the last year and a half. His role has ascended this year, I feel like, with the responsibility that they've allowed him to have. And you can see it at times that if Jalen's not in the NBA jams, he's on fire Jalen mode, that you can
Yeah.
sometimes see him being, questioning his own decision making at times.
Right. And, it wasn't one of those Jaylen Brown 7 turnovers game. He only had
Right.
2 turnovers. It was actually Drew. Drew's the one that had 7 turnovers, which kind of
Yep.
speaks to my point earlier. But, I don't want to harp too long on the negatives of this game, but I do want to talk about Sam Hauser being inserted into the starting lineup. And this is the second time where Sam's been inserted into the starting lineup and he hasn't been able to find his shot. And I don't know if it's a rhythm thing, if it's a pressure thing, but he had a lot of good looks tonight. All 9 of his shots came from 3-point range. One thing that I'm wondering, though, with Sam as a starter is if we can get him maybe some easy buckets that aren't just 3-pointers. Everything with Sam is it's a 3-pointer or it's not a 3-pointer when he's in the starting lineup. And it seems like we could find a way to get him on some backdoor cuts or run some of that split action that the Golden State Warriors love to do, and just see if we can get him an easy bucket slipping out of a screen, just to get his confidence going anytime he does get elevated into this starting role. Because you would hope in 38 minutes of action, Sam Hauser would at least hit a couple shots. He hit 1 3-pointer.
I mean, he had great looks. You know what I mean?
He
And
did.
it's an interesting kind of
1 rebound too. Like Sam's normally a little bit better.
Yeah, he's usually a lot better of a rebounder. Side note, just on rebounding, loved O'Shea Brissett from a rebounding perspective, just the energy that he brought in his time that he was out there. But with Sam Hauser, it's kind of an interesting conundrum, right? Because we talked about this with Peyton Pritchard, who we'll get to here in a second, that that he was able to kind of get his swagger back, which I think is big, regardless of the loss. Big part of this is going to be, hopefully, this is Peyton Pritchard getting his swagger back. But, you talked about one of the things that was bothering you when Pritchard didn't have it going is that he wasn't willing to shoot, right? There was times where he was in the head. I will say, at least for Sam, that sentiment of what you shared about how you were feeling about Peyton Pritchard's game, like all the scrappy stuff he's doing, it's cool. But if he's not going to be willing to play his role and shoot that shot when he's open, Sam still shot it. 1 of 9. It didn't go well, but he still shot it. And there was one shot that he made towards the end of the game. You could kind of see Tatum give him a few extra smacks, like, keep shooting the fucking ball,
Right.
And it just wasn't Sam's night. Sam's been awesome to start the season, so I'm not super worried. I'm not obviously against him getting a bucket, because there really is that mental of, hey, I don't have it going right now, but a layup, you just see it go through. That's a real thing. Like, that's a real thing that can help get you going. So definitely with you on that. But I think with Sam, he'll have a bounce back game. He's going to have a couple of these. It's just going to happen, but I do think, he's shooting 45, 46, whatever it's at percent for the season. I'm cool with Sam Hauser. But let's talk about Peyton Pritchard here for a minute. So I do think he was one of the bright spots in this game. Like I said, him and Tatum really carried the way from an offensive standpoint, especially when you look at the 3-point line. Celtics hit 16 threes of them. 12 of them came from Peyton and from Tatum. So it was a really rough night shooting the ball. They got to that 50 number, 16 of 50, 32%. And that 32% feels deceiving if, like I said, if you're not Pritchard or you're not Jason Tatum. But it's interesting, Greg. I almost brought it up last night, but it was kind of an insignificant moment in the Grizzlies game where on the right wing, towards the end of the second half, Pritchard hit a step back that ended up being a 2. His foot was on the line, but it felt like one of those shots he kind of had to take. He couldn't overthink it, right? And after that, he hit one more 3, and he just started to play. It just seemed like he was playing better the rest of the game. He didn't play a ton more the rest of that game, but it felt like, all right, that might be something. And so it was something I kind of bookmarked in my mind. And then tonight comes out and hits 4 threes in the first quarter, and overall, just I think played easily his best game of the season.
Yeah, it was great to see out of Pritchard. I was listening to your conversation that you had with Adam the other day, and you were talking about Pritchard, and Adam was like, "It's coming, man. It's coming for Pritchard."
I know, and I told him I want it to, and it looks like hopefully this is the start of that.
Yeah, and he doesn't have to go 5 for 8 every night, but he has to be willing to shoot, and he has to be, 8 3-pointers, I think, is a good number for Peyton Pritchard to be taking off the bench. He has to be coming in, willing to shoot the ball. If he goes 3 for 8, 4 for 8 every night, like, that's all you can ask for out of Pritchard. 50% obviously is great, but 3 for 8 would be a wonderful number to shoot for Pritchard. And the ball, it seemed like he had a little bit more spring in his legs tonight. I think you can attest to this, Will. You're a shooter, although not at the NBA level. That's your role on our men's league team.
if they would just give me a shot, I've said I could do it, but they just won't listen. I don't know.
But there are some days where you just like, everything is so rhythmic, right? With
Yeah.
your shot, everything's connected from your feet all the way to your follow through. And it felt like Pritchard, because he was in a slump, he was trying to like over mechanicize. I know that's not a word, but be over mechanical,
Mechanize, over
overly
mechanize.
mechanical. There it is. There it is. We're two people that speak the English language. Or
I mean, barely, but
overly
yes.
overly mechanical with that shot. And you could almost see him being like, okay, I want to get my hand under the ball. I want to tuck my
Right.
elbow in, and just like Steve Nash shooting mechanics. 100%. And tonight he just let it fly. And I think there is something to be said about that shot the other night against the Grizzlies, where he didn't have to think about it. He just let it go. And tonight it seemed like he was more willing to just let that thing go. That's all you want out of Peyton Pritchard, because he does so much else on the court for this team. And in nights when a Derek White is not available and Drew Holiday is not playing well, this is what we wanted, and this is what we expected out of Peyton Pritchard, is that he could step up, he could elevate his play when called upon. And it was nice to see him finally do that, because he has been busting his hump all year, and everything else on the court,
Yeah.
it's just the shot hasn't been falling. And now that it fell tonight, hopefully this is something that he can build upon and have a nice stretch, because we've seen stretches from Hauser and from Pritchard where they'll just shoot 45% from three for a month and a half.
Yeah, isn't it funny though, as like from a shooter's perspective, sometimes the worst thing for you when you're in a slump is a wide open shot.
Oh yeah.
It's 100% the worst shot. You need almost shot clock winding down, someone in your face running down at you that you know this is the shot that you're supposed to take, and then you just take it without thinking. Because it's like you said, if you're in a slump and you have that much time to think, you're thinking about, where are my shoulders? Where's my hand? Where's, is my elbow tucked in? Am I following through properly? You have all these different thoughts that go through your head. And then sometimes when you can just get out of your own way, and then you start playing, you start flowing, you start feeling that rhythm. And that's what we certainly saw to Peyton Pritchard tonight. And so it was nice to see that. It's a bad loss. Like I said, it's a really bad loss for all the different circumstances.
But we're good. We're good.
I mean, yeah, we're 11
Yeah.
and 3. I know someone said
Bad
that right
loss,
when we
but we're
signed
good.
on. Like, we're literally, I'll put it up here. We're literally 11 and 3. They're gonna be fine. This is the first time that we've seen this team have a game where it's just it's confounding, right? Where you have to come on, try to make sense of it, and it's a game you shouldn't have let get away.
And let's be real, it's the ultimate trap game. We got Milwaukee on Wednesday.
It's a big time trap game. And if you look at the way the Raptors game went and the way the Grizzlies game went, they were kind of due for this. I mean, even Missoula after the Grizzlies game was like, we shouldn't have won that game. We didn't deserve to. And it was kind of a spiral or trickle down effect from the Raptors game to the Memphis game to finally in Charlotte. You took your foot off the gas and
Jason
you got
Tatum
picked.
missed a clutch free throw, bro. He never misses clutch free throws.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
as he was shooting the first one, I was like, oh, that's money. The second one, I was like, ooh, that was a little strong, but he'll adjust. And then the third one was long. My dad and I were watching the game together, and when Tatum got fouled, I was like, oh, he's good for these. Like we're probably going to second
We're
overtime.
going to double overtime.
Yeah, he's good for these, and he missed the last one. I felt like an idiot. I'm the son that's supposed to know everything about the Celtics.
Right. And of course he well, I guess I named him in the morning box score, but he will not be named. Goes ahead and hits the fucking game winning shot.
Can we talk about him though for a second? It's fucking like when he who should not be named. We're talking about Miles Bridges. Everybody, like when Miles Bridges got the ball on the left wing, I was like, "There's no way Karma is not going to let him hit this shot right now." And then he just fucking nailed it. And I was like, "God damn it, man!"
This is the first game he started this season too. I think it's his
of
third
all the
game
people
back,
that has to hit the shot, it has to be this fucking asshole.
And the thing is, like, LaMelo was cooking tonight, right?
Yeah.
Like if LaMelo is gonna be LaMelo, I'll let that happen. Gordon Hayward, hey, listen, the time with the Celtics just didn't work out. I don't think anyone that I know has a real bad sentiment towards Gordon Hayward. He just keeps getting fucking injured every time he steps on a basketball court. It's like he hits it. Okay, hey, listen, Gordon. This isn't real revenge, but like a little bit like happy for it. Mark Williams was fucking awesome. Let him get a putback dunk or something,
Right.
Like Mark Williams, I thought was really, really good in this game. I like
awesome.
Mark Williams a lot. Like
my dad thought it was Rob for a second.
I mean, honestly, he plays a little bit like him, right? Like there are some similarities.
Same hair, same last name.
Yeah, I don't blame Charlie for that one. But yeah, that sucked for him to be the guy that hit the shot. Like I said, LaMelo and Mark Williams, I think, were the main culprits tonight when you look at, how the Charlotte team just kept coming. LaMelo and Mark
Yeah,
Williams
Mark Williams
didn't
was
quit.
awesome, dude.
Mark Williams was everywhere. 18 points, 16 rebounds, 8 offensive rebounds. He had 3 blocks in this game too. And it felt like he affected a lot more than just what was in the stat line tonight. So, for the Hornets, this is a big win for them. This is a big win for them in their season.
It is. I like chuckle at it because they're
but
the
it
fucking
is,
Hornets.
right?
But like, it is a big win. I don't know what it's gonna do for them, but it's
Right.
a big win.
Like, who knows? Like, I mean,
Might be their best win of
like
the season.
if we were teal with envy instead of green with envy, and we were hosting a Charlotte Hornets podcast, we would have come on here drinking the fucking Kool-Aid. We would have been talking about LaMelo Ball's having his all NBA breakout. Mark Williams is like the up and coming, new center in the league. Gordon Hayward's here to do all the little things in his final year of his 4-year. He's gonna have this JD Drew moment, or whatever shit. We maybe wouldn't have said JD Drew moment because that wouldn't have made sense with the Charlotte.
Apparently, we'd just be totally okay with Miles Bridges playing basketball.
Yeah, we'd have to ignore all of the bullshit surrounding him. But
can we talk about Brandon Miller for a second?
Yeah, I mean, I thought maybe one of the funniest possessions, and I can't remember if this was in regulation or OT, where they just kind of let Brandon Miller have the ball, and he was just fumbling it around for about the first, 14 seconds of the shot clock, where he's like, LaMelo, please come take this ball. I don't want it.
Yeah, I was impressed with him, man. I didn't really watch him much in college, and then I've seen a few highlights. That missed dunk that he had tonight.
I was
like,
whoa,
bro!
He tried to snatch a couple of bodies in the first half on that dunk.
He just
Jalen tried to do the same in the second half.
He exploded off of that left foot, like 1 foot inside the paint. I was impressed with him, man. Like he's got some defensive chops. He's got a nice handle, really competitive. He didn't look like his body wasn't ready for the NBA. I know he's still a young guy, but I was really impressed with him, man. I think they definitely have something with LaMelo and him. Like this, we've seen LaMelo play great against the Celtics before. I know everyone's kind of been down on LaMelo lately, but this is what made everybody lose their shit over LaMelo rookie year. His feel in the pick and roll and his feel for big moments as well. Like, man, he's a 6'6" Trae Young. That's what he is.
Yeah, dude, I was thinking of this earlier about like between the two of them, I think they're kind of similar, and I would choose LaMelo every time just because he's 6'6", 6'7".
Yeah,
right? Like that's the
exactly
differentiating factor. And so you give him, high flyers like Brandon Miller and Mark Williams. Like I like what they're building with that. It's something, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
To the point of tonight's win for them, I don't know if it's going to turn into something. And I don't know if Mark Williams, Brandon Miller, LaMelo Ball, I don't know what that is. But it's, if you're a Charlotte fan, it's at least fun, right? Like that's fun to watch.
Yeah. It just really sucks that Miles Bridges hit that shot, man. I fucking hate that guy.
Yeah. Wish it could have been anyone else. It literally, and I wish Bryce McGowan's came in and hit that shot. Like just anyone.
JT Thor.
Or you know what would have been poetry? If fucking Ish Smith, the all-time.
That I would have applauded. I would have given Ish Smith the standing ovation instead of fucking. It would have
been too perfect. I mean, he's the Celtic killer captain, right? He's the Celtic killer captain all-star, So, but it is what it is. Celtics lose 121-118. They're now 11-3 on the season. But Greg, you mentioned it. It's a massive crap game. Wednesday night, big showdown. Celtics, Bucks. TD Garden Wednesday night before Thanksgiving.
Ooh.
The libations are going to be flowing that night around the Garden. That is going to be a scene for those of you that be in the building.
Bring the earmuffs.
Yeah, bring the earmuffs. It's probably not all going to be PG or even PG-13 that night, but should be a fun time at the Garden. That's going to do it though for this episode here of Green with Envy. I'm your boy Will Weir. This is Greg Manakis, and in case we decide to put this on the audio feed, Greg, what if we do? What music are they going to hear?
You know what? I heard somebody request this earlier, so let's just play him out with a little bit of the